Hello. I'm working on a decent sized project at the moment, so in the meantime I want to quickly go over what you might expect to see from Dinosaur games in 2023 and when you might be able to see them. Whilst I am using rough averages on update time to calculate dates and content, remember that they're still estimations, so take everything with a grain of salt. Starting with Path of Titans, which is probably the one that's going to release an update the soonest, a combat update that will be changing and adding new attacks and abilities onto most if not all dinosaurs is currently in public testing. You can both play the update yourself and watch in-depth videos on it right now, although it's not quite finished just yet. This update will also include updated models and animations for 5 of the game's current carnivores. This can be expected later this month, or likely by the middle of March if not. The next set of non-terrestrials, Hatzegopteryx and Eurhinosaurus, as well as the addition of the replay system, a team deathmatch game mode as well as game mode modding, and a quote-unquote improved questing update with new quest types is also stated to come this year, and can and likely will be in by the end of quarter 3. It's also pretty safe to say that at least 2 extra new dinosaurs will come in by the year's end, which could be any of the following: Miragaia, Achillobator, Microraptor, Leedsichthys, Rhamphoryhnchus, and Tylosaurus. I would expect Tylo and Microraptor as they're the 2 that are probably the most needed and unique at the moment. There's a mystery dino as well, but that probably won't be added until the full release of the game. The Isle is getting ready for the move to Unreal Engine 5 and release of Troodon and possibly also Beipiaosaurus, which will likely come together between mid-March and late April. It is unsure whether the new map and migrations will release with this update, but if they don't, it's still as reasonable as you can get with the Isle to assume they'd be in by the end of quarter 2. From statements by Brian, we're getting Troodon, Beipiaosaurus, and Galli for sure this year, with most of them likely done either by migration or Update 7. Speaking of Update 7, that will contain elders and perks, which should finally introduce an actual gameplay cycle to the game. This can be expected probably around the middle of quarter 4 if we're going by the latest of my estimates, but if it comes as early as August or September, that may leave room for 1 or 2 more playable additions, though that is unlikely. These playables would most likely be Diabloceratops and Herrerasaurus, which would introduce the climbing mechanic. Here's a name you probably haven't heard of forever: Saurian. While Saurian has been notoriously slow in its development due to its developers working only when they have the free time, we know that the upcoming environment overhaul update isn't too far off, and can expect to see that in the next couple months, followed by their playable Tyrannosaurus Rex later in the year, which will also finally change the model from their Rat Rex to Freddy Krueger. Another less talked about game, Isles of Yore, can also be expected to release 2 new playables of Allosaurus and Parasaurolophus, which is coming out either this month or in the next month, as the main dev has stated he wished to release it just a few days ago, but encountered a few problems which should hopefully be sorted out very soon. I am not too knowledgeable on any further development of this game in particular, but with only 1 developer if I remember correctly, I think it's safe to assume that there will likely only be 1 more big update in the year, but I don't personally know what that could be. Beasts of Bermuda doesn't have a set plan or roadmap, but we know that 3 creatures are currently in the middle of being reworked, with the closest most likely being Ichthyovenator, who already got a remodel, and the others being Pteranodon and Saichania. All 3 could very well be done by the end of the year based on their update speeds, and if it's prioritized, Ichthy can likely be expected either in March or April, as BOB already released an update very recently and are focusing a lot on game optimizations, so I wouldn't expect it too soon. That update in particular containing world events. Whilst it's not a priority right now, the next creature to be added is the Paleophus, or the sea snake, which has a good chance of coming this year as they are usually able to release 1 or 2 creatures per 365 days, with the last edition of Megaraptor already being 365 days old exactly. It is also safe to assume that the second half of Saichania will release by the end of the year, likely during quarter 2 or quarter 3. If Paleo were to be released this year, I would expect it alongside that update, as Titania Part 2 isn't really an update name that carries much hype with it. Finally, Ark Survival Evolved, which currently has a Valentine's event going on until the 17th, should be releasing the Survival of the Fittest game mode onto consoles next week, as well as posting a followable roadmap for the game franchise sometime in March. The community creature vote has also ended, which means that the Rhyniognatha will also be released later down the line, as that will probably be the last update for Arc 1, with the long-awaited Arc 2, which is also supposed to release this year, probably coming mere months afterwards. And that's it. That is most likely what you can expect from all the notable dinosaur games in 2023, and perhaps even more for some of them. Could this be the year for dinosaur games, especially with more and more of them getting into development and getting ready to release? Well, it is possible, but that's for you to decide. It all rides on how quickly and how well everything is completed, which we all know is a hard task for the dino devs. If you like dinosaur games and want to duke it out with the other communities to express your love for a certain one, there will be a link in the description or comments for the Saur Awards, a community voted dinosaur version of the Game Awards that has less than 2 weeks until it closes. As usual, big thanks to my patrons as well, that will also be in the description. See you next time.